From business to entertainment, I sit down with folks who have reached their own level of success to discuss their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, and the challenges they faced along the way. You're listening to The Jordan James Show. In today's society, we see an extended amount of representation for several communities across multiple professions. Whether it be based on race, gender, or sexual orientation, doors are opening everywhere and allowing more people to be who they want to be and to do what they want to do. However, there are areas that are still lacking diversity, with Hollywood being one, as trans performers continue to struggle to find work, and only a handful of trans and non-binary conforming directors leading film crews. Our guest on this episode is looking to change that, and is on the path of creating the representation she never had. Lisa Crawford grew up in South Africa and lived in the Caribbean for 20 years before emigrating to Canada in 2007. She's had a vision of becoming a filmmaker that dates back to her youth and has opened up about her personal struggles in her first short film, What If?, that deals with suicide awareness and prevention. Since venturing into the film industry in 2016, Crawford has been a part of numerous productions, working as an actress, writer, producer, and as a director. Her ultimate goal is to tell realistic stories about diverse characters, which she's definitely accomplished in her latest project, the comedy series Pink is In. All right, Lisa, let's jump right in. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Let's dig into your origin story a little bit, if you will. Bring me right back to your youth. Where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
Well, I grew up in South Africa. It was during the apartheid eras, and it was a very conservative country. But I do remember as a child, my father had this book from the 1940s, and it was from the cigarette company, and used to collect these cards, and it had pictures, from the Oscars and all the films dating back from the early 1900s all the way up to probably the 1960s. And I used to love looking at this book and thinking, one day I want to go to America and I want to become a filmmaker. But as everybody grows up, you sort of move on to other careers. So I did an apprenticeship with the Otis Elevator Company, and then I got into the casino business, which I loved. And wow. I eventually made it all the way to the Caribbean. I got a job there on an island called Curacao. It's just off the coast of Venezuela. And there I worked my way up from technician up to running 5 of the casino slots operations. And then my family and I decided in 2007 we're going to emigrate to Canada. We emigrated to Canada, and it was after my wife passed away and my son left home, and that's when I started my transition, because I'm a transgender woman. But then when I realized that, I want to do what I want to do. I thought it's never too late to follow your dream. So that's how I started the film business. I started just doing background work, which was a great experience. It was my film school. So in 2018, I decided to produce my first 2 films, What If and Death Game. And I got, with Death Game, I managed to collaborate with some great people, a lot of students, and we created the film, and it was a great learning experience. Then in 2019, I met Darren. Our connection was meant to be, and I produced 2 of his films. He's a playwright, and he had successfully had a run in the theatre, so he wanted to sort of transform some of his plays into films. So I did his 2 films, Digging Up Dorothy and Stroke of Fate. And then in the process as well, doing background, I decided, I was on this film set called The Kin with James Franco, and I was on that set and I was watching the actors, and it was the first time doing background where I had to do reactions. I said, I think I can do this. So I started taking acting lessons with a guy by Livingston Durant in Niagara Falls. I landed a few roles, eventually got into ACTRA, got my first credits on Umbrella Academy. But but my real passion is filmmaking. And, we were very fortunate that I got a bunch of actor people together. We got together, we shot a teaser, and we started pitching it during COVID, and we were very fortunate to be picked up. So we managed to film Pinkazin last year, and it's now airing on Bell Fibe Tv One. So wow. That's my life in a quick flash.
How exciting. So just going back a little bit, when did you first realize that performing arts was a passion that you wanted to pursue?
As I said, when I was a child, I had that dream. I wanted to be a filmmaker. And my father actually had an old 8mm camera, and it was so old that it didn't have batteries. You had to wind it up. And it was like spring-loaded and you'd film. And I shot my first film when I was a kid. It was really bad. So there was that passion inside me. But as I said, it was only after when my son left home, and then I realized, I want to do what I want to do. So it was probably in 2016 that I really decided to follow my dream in the film business.
Wow. So what are some of the challenges that you faced growing up and just breaking into the filmmaking industry as well?
Well, one of the things I started with, just doing background work. But then what I did find in myself being transgender is that sometimes with the roles were very limited, there weren't that many opportunities. And that's when I decided, I'm going to start producing my own content. And one of the things I'm very proud to say we as a team we like to be very inclusive of everybody, to give everybody a chance, no matter what background or diversity you come from. And it's my films that, hopefully that we do represent the real world out there.
Right. And is inclusivity something that you look for in telling stories and just trying to represent those groups that might not be represented?
Well, I approached it a bit differently. I remember when we were casting for Death Game, one of my first films, is I just opened it up and I opened up all characters. We were very open that it involved a couple. And I said, I was open to the couple, whether it was 2 males, 2 females. And it just so happened that we managed to get this really great chemistry with the 2 leads. And it just happened to be a person of color. And that happened to also one of the roles was cast to somebody from the LGBT community. And it just happened to be that way. So I like to be open and give everybody the chance.
So just talking a little bit more about the world of success, what do you love most about what you do? If you could pin it down.
What I do love, especially about being a producer, what I love about it is bringing people together. Even from my casino days, I have the ability to see people's their skills, and what I love is bringing all the talented people together and create a beautiful piece of art. Because one thing I've learned in the film business, you cannot do it alone. It's a collaboration of people coming together, and they have to sort of put their ego aside and work for the benefit of the project.
Right. And what factors would you say have helped you become successful?
I think in my experience, especially in the casino business, in running the casinos, that sort of management experience definitely helped me. But one of the things, I remember I was working with a woman she was a recent graduate of Rice and Natasha, and she was a young filmmaker, and she said to me, Lisa, what I loved about you, you were so open-minded. And I think as a filmmaker, you do have to be open-minded and listen to other people's opinions. Because film is a collaboration, and that's something very important people should remember. Right.
And I find it really interesting listening to your story, because I kind of see a a lot of myself in that path as well. I'm currently an Niagara College student, and I started out with background acting, and actually I worked on a James Franco show as well. And to kind of, I know that one of your first roles was in a Niagara College student film, correct?
Yes, it was actually called Captured. And I remember I just started acting lessons on the 17th of December 2016, and it was January that the filmmaker, cast me in that. And it was a great experience. I really loved it. It was my first sort of role. It was more silence on camera. There weren't any dialogue. But I really enjoyed the experience, and it was also great to help other filmmakers, help the students, giving your time to help their projects.
Right. And what qualities would you say make a strong filmmaker?
I think one of the main things I would say is passion. If you are passionate about something, you will do well. And I really, truly believe that. Where you're actually doing it purely out of passion. You're not doing it for the money, but you're doing it straight from the heart. I think that's what helps you. And be open-minded and listen to other people's opinions. You do have to sort of put aside your ego. But follow your heart, do it with passion, and I'm guaranteed you will be successful.
Wow. And just kind of going off of that, I guess my next question would be, what habits or skills would you say are really important to hone in order to become successful?
I think it's perseverance, and patience. I always used to say to people, you need 2 P's to succeed: passion and perseverance. But I think you also have to be patient and know that it's not going to happen overnight, and you really have to push. But what I do is, the way I operate is, I like to set a goal and say, this is where I want to get to. And you really focus on that goal, and you really find ways, and don't be put off. You'll always be focused, come across obstacles, but don't let that put you down. I always say to people that the day you give up on your dream is the day your dream dies. So as long as you keep at it, I think you will succeed.
Wow, I really like that. So obviously we're all human, and all humans make mistakes. Even the most successful ones struggle and go through dark times. How would you say that you pushed through during some of your darkest times?
I've always been a very positive person, and I try and tell people that, always try and look at the good side of everything. Whenever I'm in a really bad situation, I have this belief that if something's really bad happening, I'm saying something good is going to happen. And it's funny that the way I approach life, I watched a show on Netflix that apparently a lot of people, especially here in Canada, know about, and it's called The Secret. And when I was watching, I said, wow, this is how I've been living my life. I never knew it was a thing. So that's what I always say, try and find the positive. When people even have their cards read, tarot cards read, they always say, if you get dealt the death card, oh my God, that's bad. But that can also mean a rebirth, and so always think, when you hit rock bottom, I always say there's no other way but up. And sometimes you do, like you say, we humans, we make mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes, and that's what, especially in film making, every film at the end, I said, oh, we should have done this, we should have done, but take that information and make sure the next film you don't make those mistakes.
Right. I like that. You can only go up once you hit rock bottom. It reminds me of the Shania Twain song.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time and give yourself, your younger, maybe 20-year-old version of yourself, some advice, what would you say to yourself?
I would say, hey, hang in, you've got a great future. One of the first films my very first film, and a woman by the name of Deborah helped me, it was called What If? And I did it as a suicide prevention and awareness film. And it was also, I did reach, because I was struggling with GID, which is gender identity dysphoria. There was a dark time when I came very close to ending it all. And I did that film because I looked back at my life and I said, hey, give life the chance. So if I had to go back to my 20-year-old self and say, hey, just hang in there, it gets better. You've got a bright future ahead.
And would you say that making that film kind of acted as a bit of therapy? And did it help you kind of put everything into perspective?
Yeah, it did. When we did the film, I didn't really want to make it about my experience. I just wanted to do a general experience. But what I found was we did the one take, and I was just speaking about my experience, and we actually shot it in just one take. And I remember Deborah said, okay, let's try another take. I just couldn't do it. It was very emotional for me to go back and relive that sort of experience. Yeah.
Wow. So when we talk about trans and gender nonconforming directors and filmmakers, we're still only talking about a handful of people. Do you find that you are paving a path, and now that stories can be told and viewed through a different lens?
Yes, it can. And what I hope to, because some people ask me, they say, why are you so open about the fact of being transgender? After my surgery, there was two ways to go about it. I said I could just try and blend in as a woman and just move on, or I can choose the other route and be proud of who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm not ashamed. So I'm always very open about, but also just to give other people hope, whether they're trans, non-binary, or some people just having some struggles on themselves, just to say, believe in yourself and know that you can accomplish this. And it's one of the biggest things I always say to somebody once asked me, what is the best way to combat a bully? And I would say is confidence. If you're confident in yourself, they will actually stay away from you.
What types of barriers do you think are still present for the community in terms of reaching success, specifically in the entertainment industry?
I will be really honest with you. It is tough. There's so many people with dreams and aspirations to succeed in the film business. So one of their things is it's very tough to actually break in. But we were very unfortunate with the Bell Fibe Tv One program. What I found was it gave emerging producers like myself the chance to, produce something. So there are some of these. I think I know that Rogers has something similar. So it's very difficult to sort of break through that barrier. But one of the ways to do it is through film festivals, because if you do produce a film and you do get into some of these, it's acknowledgements that somebody has looked at your film and said, hey, this is worth showing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned breaking into the industry, studied acting in Niagara Falls, landing a bunch of small roles. Since then, you've landed numerous roles, and including Umbrella Academy, that like you mentioned as well. What was that experience like for you on set?
That was interesting. I was very fortunate because that role originally was a background role, and something my acting coach always said to me, even if you are just playing even a background position, give it your best, and it was a very small scene that I had to do. It was right in the beginning, opening scene of Umbrella Academy, where this couple kisses, and I was playing the Russian woman inside the booth, and I had to react to them kissing. But I improvised. They just told me just bang on the glass, but I added my own thing and I said, right, like that. And apparently the director and the producer loved it so much that they actually upgraded me to actor status. And that is how I actually got into the union.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's dive into Pink is In a little bit, because this show is amazing. Like, you definitely do not see what is coming in this show, and I cannot wait for season 2. You have a TV show on. You have a show on TV that you created and you star in. What does that mean to you, and how did that whole experience kind of shape who you are now as a filmmaker, as opposed to when you first started?
Oh, it was an amazing experience, and it could not have been possible without the support and the team behind us. And as I said, filmmaking is not just one person. When we were very fortunate when we shot the teaser, everybody felt the magic. There was something magic happening, and then as I said to everybody, by March, I want us to get a deal. And then what happened in March, we got hit with COVID. And then, everybody was feeling down. And I said, you know what, let's take this time during lockdown to keep our minds occupied and let's work on the script. I said, let's work on the script so that when COVID is over, we're ready. And we started, it was Kim, Caroline, and I worked on the script. Kim is our lead writer, a really great comedy writer. And we were fortunate that we pitched it around and we got the call in June and they said, no, they want to proceed with our show. And it was a surreal moment. I remember just stopping and thinking, wow, this is actually happening. Am I ready for this? But you know what? And I was actually in Prince Edward Island at the same time. And then I ended up flying back to start working on the project. And then my wife, Gina, she joined me later on. And it was just us coming together and everybody was so excited. When we came on set, everybody, the cast and crew, were just so happy to be out of lockdown and come together. And there was this magic in the air. Everybody wanted to be there. And I think it's a great accomplishment for everybody, especially because a lot goes into filmmaking, what people don't realize. I remember somebody said, oh, you just film something and then you put it on TV, it's there. And it's not the case. There's a lot of people involved. I think the total amount of people involved in Pink is In is probably around 50.
Wow.
That were in, but it was a great feeling. I tell you what, it was a great accomplishment we had, and to see it. And then we just got news on Monday that our show reached the favorites list within 1 month.
Oh, wow.
So that was really, we were so thrilled about that.
Absolutely. And I think probably the one of several things that I love most about the show is that it's unlike anything that's out there right now. You've got your prison shows, you've got Wentworth, Orange is the New Black, but it doesn't really fall in that category at all. It's kind of somewhere in between. Why did you feel like it was important to go the opposite direction and make it more of a comedic approach to the show?
Well, the show, actually, the idea came in, I was on a show called New Eden, and we were doing a prison scene, and I was playing a prisoner. And they put all these fake tattoos on me and I had to sort of intimidate one of the lead actresses. And Caroline was on with me and she was playing a prison guard. And I had so much fun on set that at the end of it, I walked over to Caroline and I said, you know what, we have to make a prison comedy, a female woman's comedy. And I said, unlike Wentworth and Orange is the New Black, let's approach it as a comedy. And when Ken came on as well, he's had a lot of experience in writing comedy. And he was also saying, let's not just focus on the prisoners and focus on the administration as well. Mm-hmm. So it was a great experience, writing it. And we actually decided to do it a little bit different. We wanted to make it wacky. And we decided to make a little bit of a throwback to the 70s, 80s style sort of British humor. because Kim and I always used to discuss, when I first met Kim, I also met him while doing background, is that we said, what I love about Canada is that you have British humor and American humor, and just how Canadian humor is almost a blend of the two. And that's what makes it so beautiful. And, it was, we're just so excited how people are actually enjoying the show.
So talk to us a little bit about the creation process. What actually goes into making a show right from the very beginning, with kind of conceiving the idea all the way to getting it on TV?
Well, the first thing is you have to come up with the idea, and that was on New Eden. And then I remember it was Carolyn and I, we had coffee, and this was pre-COVID, so we were able to have the freedom of going to the coffee shops. Coffee shops were actually where we had most of our meetings. And I remember we was just sitting down, and I've actually kept that piece of paper somewhere. And I said, okay, let's decide, okay, because my idea was this wacky prison, this really poorly run prison, that the warden would have to think of really creative ways to keep the prison afloat. So Karen and I sat down and we were working out, okay, what kind of characters do we want, So we wrote down all these different characters. And then when Kim came on board, we discussed the teaser, and we said, okay, in the teaser, we need to showcase what the show is about. So between Caroline and Kim, they wrote this little short script. We said, okay, let's do a scene with the warden and the CEO, Pip Barnett. So at least it shows what the show is about. It's about budget cuts. And then we said, we got all the prisoners together, and we said, okay, let's film mugshots with them. I ordered from Amazon one of those backdrops, and I was fortunate. We filmed it in my condo building in the basement. The condo board they were great. They allowed us to film down there, and we just filmed it in one day, with the exception of just one car scene we did on another day. But we got together and we filmed this teaser, and then we started pitching. But right at the time of pitching, that's when we started writing out the actual scripts. And we started writing 8 episodes. So we wrote them, and then with Bell Fibe, they wanted just 1 hour content. Originally, they wanted 6 episodes at 10 minutes, but then we realized our episodes were more like 15 minutes, and then eventually agreed that we can do 4 at 15. So, there was a lot of back and forth with the writing the scripts. But one of the best advice I can say to people is always have table reads. Because we got together with the cast and crew, we actually did table reads, and then you'll find out, some of the dialogue doesn't work. And then we had to do that. When we were picked up with Pinkers Inn, with Bell Fibe Tv One, they also read the scripts. And so we did, because they wanted it PG, we had to sort of tone down certain things. So there was actually a scene that we had in the prison. We actually shot it both ways. And then we ended up staying with the PG way. And the approach we did with the show is very similar to like Family Guy. So we said where we can actually have that if kids were watching it, they won't really necessarily catch the adult humor, but at least the adults will. And that was the approach we had.
Right. And what was the casting process like for you guys? How did you kind of get everybody on board?
Well, I had, and that's where Darren came in. He was so awesome. It was funny enough, before we were going to shoot the teaser, the main woman that we were going to have play in the warden couldn't get time off work. And so we needed a lead. So I reached out to Darren. Now, Darren had all these connections with these great actors and actresses from his theatre day. And within 15 minutes, we were on the phone, and we were speaking with Ellie Ray Hennessy. She's a great voice actor, and she's been in so many shows. And she came out and helped, and it was one of the best decisions we made. But Darren is the one that he did all the casting, and he's a really great casting director. And it was fun, actually, putting it out there, seeing who's the best one for the roles. And we managed to get it done.
Absolutely. And you guys did it right. I mean, you could feel the connection and just the chemistry between all the characters.
And what's so interesting about that is because of COVID and we were on a really tight budget, we could not have any rehearsals.
Oh, wow.
And we were on a tight schedule, and it was like, okay, we got this tight schedule, this can't afford to go into overtime. So the director had to just give the instructions to the actors. But I'll tell you what, everybody bought their A game that day. It was just so incredible. How just everybody got it done. Sometimes it was just a matter of only doing 3 takes, and really we were such on a tight time frame. But it was amazing how that chemistry, but I think it was everybody believed in the project. Everybody had that positive feeling. I think that helped as well.
And speaking of that, shooting a TV show under such a tight timeline in the midst of a global pandemic as well, which is, I mean, you can't really say that's been done too often before. How did you guys navigate that? Like, how did you guys get around that? And what was different on set because of the pandemic that probably wouldn't have been there if we weren't in a pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we had to, and we were in uncharted waters with this, because they weren't exactly, we had to come up with our own sort of protocol. I was very fortunate. We brought on a mentor, Rebecca Heron. She was a mentor for me as a producer, and she had shot something up in Sault Ste. Marie. So she gave us their protocols. So we had to adjust their protocols. So one of the things we had to do is have everybody screen themselves before they came to set. We had to have a COVID officer at the door taking temperature, checking everything, and we had to abide by the social distancing. Where also, funny enough, it was a regulation, but ended up helping us out with a bit of the budget, is that we had to have a skeleton crew. So we really had, you could not exceed 50 people on sets back then. So we had a very tight, so it was tight, but I think what made it happen, even though we were in this pandemic, is just that people, and this is cast and crew, they was just so happy to be back on set, and as I said, there was this magical vibe on set. Everybody felt it. And you know what? Magic happened.
Absolutely. So now I kind of want to talk about the level of diversity in the show. The characters in the show, they represent all different walks of life. With 16 of the 26 performers being women, is inclusion kind of something that you were seeking with when you set out to make the show, or did it kind of just happen to work that way?
In some ways, it happened to work that way, but I remember I attended a WIFT function, which is Women in Film and Television, and I remember going there at the CBC building, and they were just saying, they were talking about women and how, and what they did at the time, I think women represented maybe 30%, and they were just saying they'd love to see more of a slightly even playing field, but in some ways, it just turned out to be, okay, we wanted to do a comedy about a women's prison, but at the same time, we knew it's giving opportunity to so many women that don't have this opportunity where there's a large female cast. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, as myself being transgender, I said, I want people, so we made sure we were inclusive, but we had BIPOC people and non-binary, transgender, gay, bisexual, that we had that. So we did. So we were very happy to have that inclusiveness.
Right. And just kind of going off of that, do you think that the industry has evolved to a point where we're starting to see equal opportunities, or do you think that we still have quite a long ways to go?
To be honest, I will say it's been more noticeable recently. in the last year. I remember I used to watch on the Oscars, and I'd hear the actors getting out there and saying, there needs to be more inclusivity. And then I thought it wasn't really translating a few years back, but I have been noticing that there is a change. And one interesting approach we've done with our show is we're not making it an issue about them being transgender or non-binary. It's just that this role just happens to be played by somebody who's non-binary or transgender or gay or straight or anything, It's just
exactly
the way it is.
Your finger at it. It just kind of happens to be that way. I like that. So I guess kind of getting to the wrap up here, what does success mean to you, Lisa? If you could define it.
I think success is you achieving your goals. Sometimes you can even do it in stages and say, hey, I want to do this. And reaching that goal. And it doesn't have to be a financial reward, And I think there's nothing more satisfying than achieving it. Because I remember when I did Death Game, one of the greatest challenges, I said, okay, we have to get this filmed, and it's coordinating all the actors and that everybody has to be there. And the day we wrapped, on the last day filming, it was one of my happiest days of my life. I said, wow, we got it now. And then we knew we just had to do the post editing. So I know somebody was saying to me with Pink as in, he says, wow, you reached it all. I said, no, there's more to come. I feel like I'm getting very close to the top of the mountain, but I just have to go a little bit further. We're hoping for season 2. We're hoping, ideally, we'd love to have one of the bigger networks picking us up, hopefully through Bell, and get picked up and go into the second season. I'm predicting Pink as in to go 8 seasons. That's my prediction. And
me too.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just a great family that we've created amongst us. And what's great about it as well is that it's creating work and opportunity for people. Right. Because I really do believe in giving people a chance. And we have, like we mentioned, Richard Krause, one of the big Canadian guys who film critic, like you mentioned, that we gave people that were normally doing regular background work the opportunity. And that's what I love. In some ways, we are a bit of the underdog story, and that's what I love about Pink as in. It's just giving people that weren't given the opportunity, and now they have that opportunity to be on a television show.
Absolutely. And with everything that you've accomplished, you just kind of mentioned it, but with everything that you've kind of accomplished so far, do you ever feel like you've made it, or do you still have quite a long ways to go? Because there's still a lot more that you need to accomplish.
As I said, I do feel, I do want to, this year, ideally, I'd love to do a feature film. So that's something else we've got in our team we're working on. So I do feel I do want to accomplish to, I don't want to just produce just one production, but I'd like to produce a few more projects. And that's my goal for the next few years.
Absolutely. And what can people expect from you moving forward, Lisa? Any new and exciting projects coming up?
Yeah, we do have one. We pitching a Christmas film. So I'm looking forward to that. As I said, we looking into various options on another feature film. So whether it could very well be another comedy, because, one genre I do love. If somebody had to say, if you could only choose one genre, what would it be? I would always say comedy, because I'd rather laugh than cry. So yeah, what's happening in the future? We're hoping to get a feature film. We're hoping for Pink as in. We do have some other projects. I do have a very interesting other project that there was actually the writer Teresa Jacobs that wrote Death Game for me. She wrote another script for me. It's a very interesting script, and it takes place in the future. And I'm really, really hoping, and it touches on gender, I can just tell you that. But it's a very interesting concept. It doesn't necessarily fall under the LGBT category, but it's something very, very interesting about humanity.
Wow. Definitely got me intrigued on that one. So just before we leave you here, Lisa, on a final note, what kind of advice could you give to aspiring filmmakers, broadcasting students like myself that just want to kind of break into the industry as well?
Well, there's a lot of good things I've learned. One thing I've learned in this business that's important is networking. Networking is, and I remember another student saying to me, your first film will be the worst film you ever make. And by that they mean you learn from it, because every time you do a project, and if you make a film and maybe it for some reason didn't work out or it's not as great, don't let it prevent. Keep going forward. Learn from your mistakes, focus, keep your goal ahead of you, and stay positive. As I always say, work on the 2 Ps, passion and perseverance, and listen to other people. Don't let the egos stick in your way and say, no, this is the way it has to be done. Listen to other people and see what you feel, but also do go on your guts, do what you want to do, and just be passionate. I remember my acting coach said, if you do something you're passionate about and you're doing it purely straight from the heart, eventually the money will come in. I've made a big sacrifice over the last 3 years. I sold a vending business I had. I sold my house. I moved to Hamilton. I said, I'm following my film career, and it's been tough being part of the starving artist, but you know what? You keep at it, and now it's finally paying off.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that very inspirational message and for joining us on the show.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.
You can follow Lisa Crawford on social media and check out the first season of Pink is In, available now on Bell Fibe Tv One. You can find all of her links in the show description. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to The Jordan James Show. And while you're there, please give us a nice rating and review. We're available for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and at thejordanjamesshow.com for more exclusive content. I'm your host, Jordan James, and we'll see you next time as we continue to discover the path to success on The Jordan James Show.
During COVID-19, during the pandemic, there was a lot of chaos going on, and we thought, what could we do throughout this period of time where instead of focusing on these problems, we could think of an opportunity.
My name is Matthew Evanson. I am co-founder and head coach at Fit Performance.
My name is Manana Bijue. I'm 21 years old, and I am the co-founder and head coach here at Fit Performance.
We initially met on our first day at fitness and health promotion at Durham College. Throughout that, we started to study together a little bit more, and we really noticed that we had a really good work connection. We could work well together.
So we started brainstorming. Matthew and myself would hop on calls every day, trying to think, create an idea. What can we do to really make an impact that can also change people's lives? And that's when we decided to come up with Fit Performance, which is now our company that we are very proud and very happy to bring to you guys. Our company offers personalized, tailored workout programs specific to your body that are safe, efficient, effective, and enjoyable.
We also have our training insights, which dive into the science behind some of our movements and what's happening exactly to your body when you're working out, when you're doing these types of things.
There you go, come on. Squeeze that back, come on. Come on, Matthew.
What sets us apart is our focus on lifestyle and mindset and training insights. We believe that focusing more on health as a holistic view and overall, physical and the mental aspect of things, focusing on overall wellness, we think not only provides you with more information and knowledge, but it helps with a better transformation and an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you're interested on taking the first step to an everlasting journey of growth, physically, mentally, and emotionally,
feel free to reach out to us on our social media. We'll link our information at the end of the video, and we'd be more than happy to help you set and achieve your health and fitness goals by leveraging our functional improvement techniques. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time, and we hope to connect with you soon. Take care.